Hi, everyone, and welcome to Inside Bristol. I'm your host, Sheridan Nichols. Well, up first, we've got Brittany Fleener. She's from the Branch House Family Center, and she's got an important message for us. Here she is.
Thank you, Sheridan. January is Human Trafficking Prevention Month, which is a wonderful opportunity to educate ourselves about the horrific crime that's hiding in plain sight. Human trafficking is the exploitation of a person by means of force, fraud, or coercion to perform labor or activities against their will. In essence, human trafficking is modern day slavery. And although slavery is commonly thought to have been a thing of the past, human trafficking generates hundreds of billions of dollars in profits by trapping millions of people in horrific situations. There are three main types of human trafficking. There's sex trafficking, where victims are manipulated or forced against their will to engage in sex acts for money. Forced labor, where victims are made to work for little or no pay, very often when they're forced to manufacture or grow products that we use and consume every day. And finally, domestic servitude, where victims are hidden in plain sight, forced to work in homes across the U.S. as nannies, maids, or domestic help. A recent study by the TBI showed that almost every county in Tennessee reported cases of human trafficking. So this isn't just a big city problem. Human trafficking is happening in every state, and it's happening right here in our backyard in Northeast Tennessee. Human trafficking can happen to anyone, regardless of their age, race, gender identity, sex, ethnicity. Although traffickers tend to target individuals who are poor, vulnerable, living in unsafe, unstable situations, or in search of a better life. Trafficking victims are deceived by false promises of love, a good job, or a stable life. Some of the most vulnerable populations for trafficking in the United States includes American Indian, Alaskan Native communities, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender questioning individuals, individuals with disabilities, undocumented migrants, runaway and homeless youth, temporary guest workers, and low-income individuals. Just as there is no one type of trafficking victim, perpetrators of this crime also vary. Traffickers can be foreign nationals or U.S. citizens, family members, partners, acquaintances, and strangers. They can act alone or as part of an organized criminal enterprise. People often incorrectly assume that all traffickers are males. However, the United States has prosecuted cases against women traffickers. Traffickers can be pimps, gang members, diplomats, business owners, labor brokers, and farm, factory, and company owners. Specifically, in East Tennessee, we're seeing a number of familial sex trafficking cases in which a family member gives offenders sexual access to victims in exchange for commercial value. Human trafficking is the fastest growing crime industry in the United States, just behind drug trafficking. And unfortunately, it's also extremely underreported. This is because it's really difficult to spot the signs, and it's also grouped in with other crimes. And victims are often too afraid or unable to come forward. This is why community awareness is imperative to bringing human trafficking to light. Recognizing key indicators of human trafficking is the first step in identifying victims and can help save a life. Some common indicators to help recognize human trafficking are: does the person appear disconnected from family, friends, community organizations, or houses of worship? Has a child stopped attending school? Has the person had a sudden or dramatic change in behavior? Is a juvenile engaged in commercial sex acts? Is the person disoriented or confused, or showing signs of mental or physical abuse? Does the person have bruises in various stages of healing? Is the person fearful, timid, or submissive? Does the person show signs of having been denied food, water, sleep, or medical care? Is the person often in the company of someone whom he or she defers, or someone who seems to be in control of the situation? Does the person appear to be coached on what to say? Is the person living in unstable conditions? Does the person lack personal possessions and appear not to have a stable living situation? Does the person have freedom of movement? Can the person freely leave where they live? Are they unreasonable, or are there unreasonable security measures? Not all of these indicators are present in every human trafficking situation, but it's important to know that if you suspect something, say something. There are a couple ways to report human trafficking. You can call your local law enforcement or the Tennessee Human Trafficking Hotline, 855-558-6484, or the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 888-373-7888. If you are, you think you may have been a victim of human trafficking, help is out there. Branch House is a multi-agency, multidisciplinary facility that coordinates free services for survivors and aids in meeting immediate and long-term needs. On-site services include representatives from local agencies that have been specifically trained to provide assistance to people who have experienced interpersonal violence, to include human trafficking. Some of our services include information and support, counseling, civil legal assistance in obtaining orders of protection and safety planning, court advocacy, access to emergency shelter, housing, long and short term, connections to resources such as food, clothing, and transportation, sexual assault forensic examinations, and these are just to name a few of the services here. Branch House is located at 313 Foothills Drive in Bluntville, Tennessee, and our 24/7 helpline is 423-574-7233. Everyone has a role to play in preventing human trafficking. To learn more about how you can help in human trafficking, please visit the Human Trafficking Resources page on the Tennessee Department of Health's website. Thank you all for having us today.
Thanks so much, Brittany, for all of that information. What a great recognition. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Bristol. I'm your host, Sheridan Nichols. Well, up next, we've got Jeannie Powers and Kristen Pearson from the Bristol Public Library. They're going to tell us all about the Tennessee Reads program. Here they are.
Hi, I'm Jeannie from the Bristol Public Library. I'm going to tell you how you can read the newspaper online from your own home. You can see daily issues or even look at back issues.
To read the paper, come to our website, scroll down till you see the Search the Bristol Herald-Courier Collection icon. Click on it. On your home computer, it will ask you to enter in your library card number, all 14 digits without spaces. Then it will bring you to this site where you'll see 3 different listings for the Bristol Herald-Courier. The bottom listing is not very useful, it's very limited. The ones you will probably want to use most will be the top one, which covers from 2007 to current, but is text only. The second one is 2018 to current, but it is image, and that will show you a picture of each page of the newspaper. You can see that it shows you the most recent issues up at the top, and there is a calendar with numbers, with dates on them that will become active as soon as the paper is published. For example, if we look at January the 11th, you see the picture of each page of the newspaper, the hometown stories. Over on the right, there are thumbnails of each page. If you prefer to just page through, you can by clicking on the little arrow here to go to the second page. But if you want to jump ahead to the obituaries or to sports or to my personal favorite, the comics, you can click on that and have it appear on your screen. If you have any questions about searching or otherwise using the Bristol Herald-Courier feature, please give us a call at the library or send us an email, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kristen, and I want to tell you about accessing ebooks, audiobooks, and more through Tennessee Reads. First, go to our website and scroll down to Tennessee Reads. You will need your library card to sign in. Choose Bristol Public Library, and you are ready to explore. You can browse by subjects, or you can search for a specific author or title. The collection includes material for all ages in a variety of formats such as ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, and videos. You can access Tennessee Reads on a computer or almost any mobile device. Download the Libby app or the Overdrive app to take your reads with you. If you have questions or get stuck, give us a call and we'll be glad to help.
Thanks so much for all that information. It's always good to have a library card. So if you don't have one, definitely head over and get one. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Inside Bristol. I'm your host, Sheridan Nichols. And up next, we've got a health coach that's going to tell us all about how to stay healthy in 2021. Here she is.
Okay, we got a new year and new goals. But before we talk about goal setting, and I give you some little tips for ways to set goals and not just set them, but keep them throughout the year, let's talk a little bit about wellness. Normally when we talk about goal setting for a new year, we talk all about the physical. But there are actually 7 dimensions of wellness that I want to mention, and all the spectrums of wellness. You have your goals you can set for any of the spectrums. So we're going to talk about mostly physical today, but there's physical, there's mental wellness, which is so important right now, spiritual, emotional, occupational, environmental, and intellectual. So there's 7 dimensions of wellness, and it's important to just know holistically that we need to be well in all those dimensions in order to be totally well. So we're going to talk about setting goals, and it's important always, but now more than ever, to do things to help put ourselves in a position to be well, in the environment to be well, and the environment to be well physically. So that's intentional. It takes some intentional efforts on our part to do that. So when you're setting goals, and hopefully we all are setting goals all the time, not just in the new year, there are 3 things I want you to keep in mind. When I train clients, or our health coaches, we coach clients, they'll give me a list this long of their goals that they want to accomplish, which is great, but it's overwhelming. So number 1, start out small. So you're going to take small bites to a larger picture of what your ultimate goal is. So don't set too many goals. In other words, you want to quit using tobacco, you want to eat healthy, you want to exercise every day, you want to read 10 books a week. That's too much. So you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. So keep the goals small, so small goals to the larger goal, which is extremely important. Number 2, when you're setting goals, make sure you write them down, because you're solidifying what's in your mind to your heart and to action. So solidify those by writing them down. And when I say write them down, you can stick them on the fridge somewhere where it's visible for you, a visible reminder of what you've decided you want to do. When writing those goals, make sure that you write down what you want to achieve, not what you want to avoid. In other words, let's think about, you might say, I want to avoid sugar for the next year. Instead of writing it like that, you could say, I want to eat 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. See how that kind of switches your mindset? Or I want to read, I don't want to watch any more TV. That's negative. What about, I want to read 2 books a week, 2 books a month? That just kind of shifts your mindset from what not to do to what to do. And lastly, another tip for setting goals, you got to make them measurable. Because if you don't make your goals measurable, then how do you know you've accomplished them? So we got to measure. What gets measured gets improved. So measure your goals. And here's an acronym that I have found over the years, by far, has worked better for my clients and myself than anything else. So it's called SMART. S-M-A-R-T. So first is the S, and it's specific. We can't be vague about our goals. I have a lot of people say, well, I want to run a 5K or a 10K. Well, you don't start out running it tomorrow. So it's a little step. So you might say, be specific. I want to walk a mile every day for the next 5 days. See the difference? The difference is the specificity of what you're going to do to achieve this goal out here. Second, SMM, measurable. We talked about that, and I just gave you an example of I want to be able to walk a mile 1 day a week for the next week. So make that measurable. If it's for food, you can say I want to get my 7 to 9 servings 3 days this week, and then 4 days, and so forth and so on. SMA, attainable, and that's so important because everybody has these lofty goals, which are great, but are they attainable for you? If you work, you have children, if you're working from home now especially, you've got all these other distractions. Are you going to be able to attain that goal? So attainability is so important. And I will say to people that if they want to run a 5K or a 10K, let's start here, and then 6 months from now we're here. So it's short-term goals to a longer term goals. So SMAR, realistic. So be realistic. Too, and relevant. So that can be realistic or relevant. I tend to think realistic's a better term for me and for my clients, because you go to the gym and you see somebody else doing something, or if we're talking about mental wellness, you see somebody else handling their stress so well and you're thinking, why can't I do that? I'm stressed out. Well, it's a strategy, and it's a small step. So make it relevant to your situation. So SMART is time bound, and that's so important. And it's great too to work with a coach or someone to help you realize Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't lose 10 pounds a week. You know, it's a slow is the way to go. And that's what I tell my clients is don't overestimate or underestimate what it takes to burn a calorie, you know, or a pound of fat. That's 3,500 calories. That's a lot of calories you have to deficit in a week's time in order to lose a pound if that's your goal. So make them time bound, which is extremely important when you're setting goals. So SMART, that's my recommendation if you're setting new goals for a new year. In any of the dimensions, spectrums of wellness, this will work. But write it down, solidify it, think about your why. Why do I want to do this? I think that engages the heart and the emotions. You know, my why is well, I like to feel better. I like mental release, but also I have grandchildren and I want to be there and be active for them. So identify your why, and that'll also keep you on track.
That was Linda Stallings. Thank you so much for all of that information, and thank you for tuning in today. We'll see you next time.